Merchant. Larry, David Reid, as we pointed out several times in the telecast, was the only American Olympian to win a gold medal in 1996. But now, at this stage of his professional career, he's fallen behind two of his Olympic classmates in the race to win professional world championships. Why?
Well, Jim, the first reason is that he has more gold medals than them and more gold bullion, gold, money. We'll explain that as this piece goes on. But here are the other fellas who are so promising. Floyd Mayweather Jr. just a couple of weeks ago won a junior lightweight title, will fight Angel Manfredi in December. And Fernando Vargas, another bronze medalist, who will fight Yuri Boy Campus for a junior middleweight title also in December. David Reid got a bit of a late start because of some operations on his eyelid, but he also got off to a very rich start, a multi-million-dollar contract. He's accelerated through these early fights by fighting an unusual number of fighters with very good records, good journeyman fighters, not the type of fighters ordinarily fed to a tyro, a promising young fighter. So he's probably more advanced than his record shows, Jim, and tonight he's fighting an undefeated fighter who is ranked.
Southpaw, 6 feet tall, kind of guy that nobody really goes out of his way to try to fight, unless you're super talented. Did I mention the 5 separate world titles in 3 different weight classes for Roy Jones, our expert commentator? Roy, the kind of challenge that James Coker provides, good for a fighter like David Reid at this stage of his career, or the kind of thing that he might want to be avoiding right now as he tries to take a stepping stone toward a world title fight?
I think it's good. I think it's actually brilliant. He hasn't fought any southpaws yet. He hasn't fought a tall southpaw for sure. So now that he's facing a southpaw, that's probably the only area that David Reid has not covered, right, as far as the experience thing goes. So once he gets this under his belt, I think that will assure himself and his trainer that he is definitely ready for a world title shot.
All right, first time against a southpaw as a professional. He did fight many of them in the amateur ranks, but that, of course, is a different style of boxing. Tail of the tape between Reid and Coker, and you can see the 7-year age advantage for young Reid, 3-inch height advantage for the rangy Coker, also a 2-inch reach advantage. And since they weighed in yesterday, both fighters have put on 14, 15, 16 pounds. You can see that Coker will be 4 rounds heavier as they come into the ring tonight. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The David Reid Cowboy James Coker fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the standardized rules for all championship fights. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
All right, thank you very much, Harold. And because Coker holds one of those Continental America's titles that make hearts beat faster all over the boxing world, David Reid will be entering the ring first. 7 KOs, as you see, in 10 fights. And as Larry Merchant pointed out, he may well have fought in his first 10 fights the toughest 10 opponents that any beginning Olympian of the recent era has ever had to fight.
Show how important a top fighter is in Philadelphia, Jim. The entire back page of the Philadelphia Daily News, my old newspaper, was a photo of David Reid, looked upon as the next outstanding Philadelphia fighter. There you see him fighting his first scheduled 12-rounder tonight. And look at the record of his 10 opponents.
Reid, who dropped Alfredo Duvergel of Cuba with a lightning right hand in the 3rd round of a bout in which he trailed badly on the scorecards to win his gold medal in Atlanta, still sees that lightning right hand as the X factor for him, his big advantage against his professional opponents. And you'll recognize the theme music for James Coker as he enters the ring. At least you will if you're in the baby boomer generation or older.
He says his great-great-grandfather rode on the Chisholm trail and hung out in Dodge City. And his great-great-great-uncle was a hero in Texas's fight for independence from Mexico in the early 19th century.
Theme from Bonanza. Somewhere Lorne Green and Dan Bunker are smiling tonight. Beat ranked fighter Robert West in his last fight. That's the first time in his career he fought a ranked fighter. Tony Ayala Sr., kind of a well-kept secret in boxing training circles, Larry.
One of the better trainers from Texas. And Coker's record is kind of odd because he was out virtually for 5 years before he decided to come out from the car business, used car business, back into boxing.
Dan Blocker, I meant. Got that corrected. Let's go up to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Donald J. Trump's Taj Mahal Casino Resort here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, America presents, in association with your undefeated king of beers, Budweiser, this Bud's for you, are proud to bring you the main event of the evening, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Continental America's Super Welterweight Championship. Sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard Sr., Chairman Jerry Gormley, Board members Gary Shaw and Stephen Katz, Deputy Commissioner John Greco. Timekeeper at the bell, Earl Curry. Physicians at ringside, Dr. Richard Snepper, Dr. Earl Shaw, Dr. Charles Wilson, and Dr. Eric Wormser. This bout is also sanctioned by the World Boxing Council, President Jose Sullivan, WBC Supervisor at ringside, Jean-Guy Prescott. The 3 judges scoring this contest on a 10-point must system are Ron Greenlee, John Potteray, and Paul Venti. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Tony Perez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing gold with black trim. He weighs 152 pounds, and in 1996, he captured Olympic gold. And now, as a professional, he has a perfect record of 10 consecutive victories, 7 by knockout. He comes to us from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here is the undefeated challenger, the American Dream, David Reid. And across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red trimmed with white, and weighing in at 153½ pounds. He also has an outstanding professional record consisting of 19 straight victories without a loss, 12 by knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, from San Antonio, Texas, here is the undefeated WBC Continental America Super Welterweight Champion, James Cowboy Coker.
Reid, Coker, I gave you the instructions in the dressing room. I caution again. I expect a good, clean fight. 2 things you must remember. Obey my commands at all times and protect yourself at all times. Shake hand. Good luck to you.
A left-handed gunslinger from Texas against a howitzer from Philadelphia.
Not bonanza. Right, magnificent 7. What an unbelievably embarrassing error by me. Thanks to the folks in the truck who straightened me out. Just goes to show you I didn't watch enough TV as a kid. Only the Gillette Friday night fights.
You were deprived, Jim.
The thing that's going to be impressive here early on in this fight is how Coker reacts to being hit by a David Reid punch.
Yeah, Coker likes to think that his resume of tough club fighters in Texas, incidentally only 19 fights in 8 years, but he likes to think that a lot of those guys are tougher than the kind of people that Reid has been in against. But Reid has the kind of power that is usually an eye-opener against his opponents. And the first good left hand from Reid knocks Coker back 3 steps.
Coker's never seen a fighter like this before, I can tell already.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that David has seen a fighter like Coker. He's already thrown 2 or 3 nice body shots. Has a nice stance against David, is sideways to him, making him difficult to hit.
chronically droopy left eyelid, always a subject of conversation. He says he's tired of hearing us and others talk about it. It is what it is. But you can't help but notice every time he gets into the ring the degree to which that lid hoods his eye and seems to be a visual obstruction against, for instance, Coker's right jab.
I think he's been fighting long enough to be able to adjust to that, Jim, and I think that's why he probably gets upset about it. Because if he can make the Olympic team with it, then he can do anything with it.
Straight right hand lands for Reid.
You know, when we saw David Reid the other day in the afternoon, the eyelid didn't look nearly as droopy. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's past midnight. Coker seems quite composed, aware of the right hand, but fighting his own fight all the while.
Yeah, he is fighting his own fight, and he's aware of the right hand. He just got caught with it a few seconds ago.
And Reid goes to the body twice as Coker manages to get away after stepping in close.
He's not looking to be a hero. He's showing one shot at a time like that.
And very smart shots. That was a good body shot by Coker.
So in round one, James Coker gets a chance to taste David Reid's power, and Reid gets a sense of the technical challenge that will face him tonight. Meanwhile, earlier this evening, a world title fight at 130 pounds as Roberto Garcia of Oxnard, California, risked his crown against Ramon Ledon, a member of the Team Freedom group of Cuban refugees in Miami. And in the second round, Ledon knocked Garcia on his back with that big left hand. But by round 4, Garcia had stabilized the fight and turned things in his direction. And working to the body, he set up with some damage that knockdown of Ledon. And then by round 5, a thoroughly exhausted Ramon Ledon couldn't score with his left hand anymore. Roberto Garcia jumped all over him and pounded him with both fists until after the second knockdown, the referee, Eddie Cotton, saw no reason for Ledon to continue. So Garcia, with a stirring come-from-behind performance, retained his 130-pound world championship.
A very Arturo Gatti-like performance, which is just about the highest praise Boxing After Dark can confer on a fighter.
Yeah, we should ordain the Gatti Trophy for the most dramatic performance every year on Boxing After Dark.
I tell you what, it'll be hard to give it out because we see some very, very interesting fights here on Boxing After Dark.
No question. And round 1 was interesting between David Reid and James Coker, as Reid may be as close as one fight away from a title shot. Faces the first southpaw of his professional career, a guy like himself is unbeaten. The left hand landed for Reid.
A beautiful combination by Reid.
Since they're both fighting at 154 pounds, Roy, one possible future bout about which fight fans love to speculate is Reid against his Olympic teammate Fernando Vargas.
Yeah, and that would be a very, very good fight. I think that would be a fight that people would love to see. And the thing about it is by them coming out at the same time and being in the same weight class, it makes it very interesting to watch the paths run into one another.
And try to compare them in terms of style, similar, technique, similar, attributes, similar. The biggest difference is Reid's money punch is his right hand, Vargas is a left hooker.
Good short right hook inside by Reid. But Reid is having his problems here. This is, if it's going to be a learning experience, he's going to learn something.
Yeah, but even though there's a technical learning game going on here for Reid, he's fighting, it seems to me, with more confidence and self-possession than in some of his previous bouts.
Yeah, because he doesn't feel like he has to be afraid of his opponent's power.
What he has to get used to is the idea that he's going to run up against opponents who are going to try to fight him this way to stay away from his power. And he has to find a way to solve that.
Good body shot by Coker. And Reid smiles as if to say, yep, you got me.
Coker's smart because he knows Reid has not been 12 rounds before. He knows this is Reid's first 12 rounder. So he's trying to beat Reid's body in case the fight becomes close in the later round.
And taking his time and stretching things out.
He's having a hard time reaching Coker, Roy.
Because of the southpaw stance.
Number one, you're laying out too much and playing and doing slipping and slide. You have to pressure the southpaw, like I told you. You go to the body. Stop all that moving and funny stuff, okay? Aim right here and there. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to aim at his head. You understand what I'm saying? That's what you do. The right hand to the body, you're aiming at two, and forget about that, okay? Remember I tell you, a good boxer, you got to stop trying to load up and go for the one shot. Okay,
looking for a round. You got to do it. We just want the depth.
You got it. He ain't doing nothing. He ain't doing nothing. He's getting clumsy. He's getting clumsy.
Whatever he tries to make, keep your composure. All right?
Long deep
Don't
breath.
go into nothing. All right?
Long deep breath.
Keep that jab and roll. Keep that jab and roll. He don't like it to the body. Straight up, he don't like it to the body.
5 seconds out.
Here's David Reid as he slipped in that round, helped by a little bit of a soft push from the Cowboy.
I love that expression, and I've used it myself, Roy, about he doesn't like it to the body, but if you think about it, who does?
Yeah, you got a point there. If it's not massage therapy, I don't like it to the body either.
Reid only able to land 5 of 52 punches, or 5 of 52 jabs, I would say, so far. As usual, the jab, a low percentage punch against the southpaw, which doesn't mean you can't keep using it.
Oh, headbutt. And Reid has a cut over his right eye.
That could bring a new sense of urgency to the fight. Round 3 of the scheduled 12. First scheduled 12 rounder in David Reid's developing pro career.
Now Coker's aiming at that blood.
And Reid, conscious of the blood above his eye, begins to paw at it with his glove.
Well, this is one of those turns in a fight that could be dramatic. It did seem to come from a headbutt.
When there's a red spot on Coker's forehead, is he bleeding too?
No, I don't think he's bleeding. I think that's the spot where they collided heads, though.
And you think he's got Reid's blood on his forehead? We can see the blood around David's eye.
First real adversity in David Reid's career.
Fascinating to hear what trainer Al Mitchell has to say to Reid about this. Cut man in Reid's corner is Fred Jenkins. He'll be going to work. Hard left hand by Coker.
Right on the cut.
Coker seems to be gaining confidence here, Jim.
And landing more solid shots than was the case in the first couple of rounds.
What David Reid may learn from this fight is not to fight tall southpaws.
Roy Jones could have told him that.
I doubt it. I think the headbutt again.
Now there may be a cut over Coker's right eye, or is there?
Well, it's hard to tell whether Coker's bleeding or whether he just has a lot of Reid blood there, but David is bleeding a lot. We're going to get a closer look between rounds, but it appears that this is a very serious cut. Presently forming over the right eye of David Reid. As we told you, and as Roy Jones immediately pointed out, it was the result of a headbutt early in round 3. Now Reid goes to the right uppercut, looking to hurt Coker. Here we go.
Now listen, you got to drill them body shots, okay? And when you're in close, you got to drill that right hook. Okay? You got to work the right hook to the body and sneak it over top to the head, okay? Okay? Stop taking the body.
Accidental butt.
Yeah, I got concentrate more on the body.
Okay? You got to drill it, okay? You got to drill it. Wipe your watch it. Okay. Remember I tell you how a southpaw is? Yeah. That's why you got to stop trying to slip. It's easy to bump a southpaw head, and that's what you did at the top, okay?
Referee Tony Perez went around the ring telling all of the judges that this was from an accidental butt, and indeed it was right there.
Seconds out.
And later, Coker splashed his glove on that cut.
And in the round, by CompuBox numbers, Coker outlanded Reid 20 punches to 18. So the bout becomes considerably more interesting now as the result of the accidental headbutt, the cut over Reid's eye, and the question of how it will affect his progress as the rounds go on.
Reid's looking to pressure him to try to get the fight over with now. You got to be careful, though, because Coker's not just a guy you can just run over in here.
You saw the location of the cut well above the eyebrow up on the forehead. That one may bleed for a while.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be too bad of a problem because by the time it reaches the eyeball, it's going to left or right.
Yeah, around the eyebrow. I guess that's why God gave us eyebrows, is so they can divert the blood from cuts on our forehead.
All this time, you thought it was just a dust collector, huh?
There you go. I thought it was cosmetic.
Now Reid is using his jab very smartly.
Yeah, and I mentioned in the last round, even if he's not going to be able to land the jab, you still want to throw it. It's a tactical weapon. It sets up your other punches. It keeps your opponent at range. But if he's going to damage Coker, it isn't going to be with jabs.
This is not a very entertaining fight, but it is dramatic in some way because of the danger to David Reid.
Not a boxing after darkerish type fight, huh?
Well, Al Mitchell said that the first challenge to Reid would be to establish a footwork pattern that could give him opportunities to score against Coker. That he would have to learn how to move his feet to get in position to land punches. And then the next question after that would be how tall or how tough is the tall Texan going to be?
Break! Which more? Break.
So far the answer is it's not easy to get the footwork right. And the tall Texan's pretty tough.
Yeah, he just took a good right hand there from David Reid. Another one.
That one partially blocked.
But I get the impression that whenever he's hit by that punch, he's looking for it. He's taking the sting out of it by his movement.
Coker lands a left hand to the body. And goes back to the body as the round goes to a close. And on November 14, light heavyweight champion Roy Jones makes his next appearance on HBO, taking on Canadian Otis Grant, a southpaw, moving up from middleweight to take on our announced partner, who is considered by many critics the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. Don't miss it. Also, we mentioned Jesse James Leija, who missed his bout with Gabe Ruelas on the undercard earlier this evening. Leija will be fighting Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley's a lightweight champion, and here's another lightweight champion. Or at least a contender.
Pressure on him now. Yep. He's cut and he's desperate. Thank you. Okay? He's cut and he's desperate. Let the fight go long. Looking good.
Seconds out.
That was Harold Warren in the corner there talking to Coker between rounds. Veteran fighter, one of the Warren brothers from Texas. Harold and Frankie have done a lot of damage in the ring over the years.
Yes, they have. In fact, Frankie beat a fighter we saw here earlier tonight, John Brown. But he lost to my fellow fighter, Derek Smoke Gainer.
Derek Gainer. Harold, how do you have it through 4 here?
Jim, I got it 38-38, 2 rounds apiece. I thought David Reid did enough damage in rounds 1 and 4 to win him, and certainly James Coker in 2 and 3 because he's busier. As far as I see this fight, James Coker's doing pretty well because he's got a stinking style. You don't see that left hand coming, and he taps you to death with that right jab. But I'll tell you something, every once in a while he'll backhand you with the right jab, and that's illegal. Jim, on the headbutt rule, if they stop the fight because of that cut in the later rounds, we still go to the scorecards because it was originally caused by a headbutt.
Oh, big left hand over the top by Coker. Coker confusing Reid with lateral movement, pausing occasionally to land a shot.
And Jesse James, Leha, and Shane Mosley fight should be a very interesting fight on November 14th. I like fights like that.
You don't think that Mosley is too strong for Jesse James Leha coming up in weight?
Not coming up in weight because Jesse James beat one of the strongest 30-pounders that I think has ever been in Azuma Nelson.
Reid sneaks the right hand up the middle against Coker.
Because he throws just one punch at a time, James Coker is a very, very difficult cat to fight.
Yeah, because he won't get out over his punches. He stays set, and it's hard to counter him.
No.
And you can't hardly tell when he's coming after you.
He's a very patient customer. He waits for you to overcommit against him, and when he's got you leaning forward, that's when he pops you.
The strategy of most tall southpaws.
What do you do against a fighter like this, Roy?
You pressure him. You pressure him. You make him open up. He doesn't want to open up. You can't let him just sit back and take his time. You have to put pressure on him. Al Mitchell told David Reid this between rounds 3 and 4, I think. But you have to pressure a tall southpaw. You can't stay out there and let him have his way.
And you see David moving forward when he can to try to apply the pressure to Coker, but of course the footwork problem remains.
See that?
How do you get there?
That's how you get that, like he just did. When you go out there and you pressure, he can't do anything about it.
Take a deep breath. Okay. Get this, clean this up. Okay. Take a deep breath. How you feel, champ?
Like a champ.
Okay, I told you, hey, I told you the style. The style was different. I told you, didn't I? Okay, you have to pick it up a little bit. The rounds is too close.
Okay.
You got to stop punching 1 or 2. You got to punch 3 and 4 punches. And when you back them up, you got to punch, okay? You got to punch, and it's at the body, okay?
Okay.
When he coming, it's the right uppercut. It's right there.
Yeah.
But you can't just throw 1 punch. You got to punch in 2s and 3 punches.
Okay.
You got to drill them. All right? Okay. And you can't when he back you up.
Fernando Vargas, next to appear in a 154-pound world title fight against Yuri Boykampas. Vargas, the stablemate of Roberto Garcia of Oxnard, California, who defended his 130-pound title earlier this evening. And Vargas, of course, Olympic teammate of David Reid. We mentioned the speculation about whether they'll ever meet because they fight in the same weight class at 154.
You may remember that Vargas suffered a bad cut in his last fight.
Against Dan Mashinsky.
Another awkward,
southpaw,
tough southpaw.
Vargas was able to turn the tide and win the fight with a, I think it was a 6th round TKO. And now we're in the 6th round here. And you heard Roy Jones say that David Reid must pressure James Coker. Try to get Coker out of his rhythm.
Can't let him just stand there and do what he wants to do.
But he's got Reid throwing 1 punch at a time also, despite the urging of his trainer between rounds.
Al Mitchell saying, don't throw 2-punch combinations, give me 4-punch combinations. And he also told him, when Coker comes in, the right uppercut is there for it.
There go the 3 and 4 punch combinations right there. That's why Al told him that.
There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4 again. Double left hook. And a good one. Well, if nothing else, I give Reid a lot of credit for patience.
He's being very patient here tonight.
He doesn't look ruffled by this. He doesn't look as though his confidence has been at all damaged. He's just calmly waiting for his opportunities and doing what he can.
He understands that it's very difficult to face a tall southpaw like this. So he's just going about it the best way. Be patient and you'll get what you want.
Do you think halfway through this fight, Roy, that it was a mistake to put Reid in with this kind of awkward, difficult to fight fighter?
No, because this is the only technique that he probably never had to use. He's never had to face a southpaw, and this is something that you need to learn before you become a world champion. Therefore, after you become a world champion, if you have to face one, you don't have a problem because you've done it before. You've been there and done that.
Yeah, you win a world title, and someday your mandatory #1 contender might be a tall southpaw. You got to go ahead and fight him if you're going to keep your title.
That's right. Or it might just be somebody you don't like that's a tall southpaw.
I know one in New York that you don't like very much. But you've got your victory over Lou Duval.
I like Lou. Lou's a good guy. Lou's a good friend of mine. Just that at the time, you know, had to take care of business.
Did a good job of promoting the fight. November 17, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel returns. Among the stories, a look back at the 1958 NFL Championship game between the Colts and Giants and its impact on the development of the sport. This is the game that changed National Football League football. Alan Amici's touchdown won it there. Candid interview with struggling golfer John Daly, and we'll follow the travails of the intense athletes who compete in 100-mile ultramarathon races. Real Sports, where nothing is out of bounds.
Listen to me. Listen to me. He is under pressure. He's under pressure. He is under pressure.
Don't square up too much.
Now,
with the right
he wants
hand.
to counter on you.
Yeah.
Okay? He wants to counter on you. Don't let him counter. Even if you don't throw any punches, don't let him counter.
You
Okay?
throw some shots and then back with the jab.
Show you southpaw mixed styles. He's different. Okay?
All right, second. Bang the body.
Al Mitchell seems almost pleased that his fighter is getting a tough challenge here.
Yeah, and meanwhile, somewhere in there, David Reid is saying, yeah, but did I have to experience it like this? Couldn't I have watched the film someplace?
The numbers of punches they're landing are small. Remember, John Brown was landing 30 or 40 punches a round against Gabriel Willis.
But both of those guys were inside fighters. Here you have two counter punchers, two rangy fighters, two outside fighters. And to be honest with you, David Reid is not really the type of fighter that boxing after dark usually is accustomed to, because he's a boxer. He's a smart guy. He's more of a fighter that wants to hit and not be hit, which is very smart. And that's not what our boxing after dark audience is really used to.
Now, we've had a lot of toe-to-toe battles here, no question. Reid, you see doubling and tripling on the jab now to try to pile up some connections. He's going to have to grind out a 12-round decision here. It makes sense at this point to put as many rounds in the bank as he can possibly get. Reaching right hand lands for Reid. Coker reaching with his left hand to try to get to Reid's body.
Coker's not landing many punches at all anymore, though.
And Reid doing a good job of moving to keep his lead foot outside of Coker's lead foot. One of those challenges for a conventional fighter against a southpaw. David stepping to his left so that Coker's jab goes on by, and then pounding twice with his own jab when he gets the angle from the outside. Good boxing here by David Reid.
Very good counter punching.
Reid wanted to throw the uppercut, finally resulted to the left hook. Coker wanted to tie Reid up, wasn't able to do it, took a punch to the body instead.
Yeah, Coker doesn't like this inside thing here.
No, he doesn't like what he's getting to the body from Reid.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't like those body shots at all.
You see his elbows going down against the rib cage, and Reid at this point thinking, if I can keep pounding to the body and bring those hands down a little bit, maybe I get a chance upstairs with my left hook or my right cross.
And that's very good thinking.
Got to do it for a couple of rounds. Invest in it. One of George Foreman's pet phrases. Invest in the body punches. They will pay you interest.
Al Mitchell told us he's been learning in the gym. This might be one of those fights that would be better off if it was in a gym.
Okay, you got to stay down there. Do you understand what I'm saying, kid? You got to stay underneath and work uppercuts and hooks, okay, when you're in close, okay? And don't let them get back in it, okay? Now you got to take control these last couple rounds. This fight is dead even, I got it. Okay? It's who take control. Okay,
put that zip in there. Take him into deep water. He's desperate. He's very desperate. Listen to me. It's an 8th round, and he's going to try to come and knock you out. Let him. Okay? Yeah. It's all right. You got the better deep water, all right? Hang on. Get up, get up, get up. There you go. Come on. There you go.
Seconds out.
Round 8 of a scheduled 12. David Reid with 7 knockouts in his first 10 fights as a pro, looking for knockout number 8 in his 11th bout. But it's going to be a tough one to get against the rangy cowboy James Coker, San Antonio, Texas. And right now, Larry Merchant is in David Reid's corner with trainer-manager Al Mitchell.
All right, Al Mitchell, is this more difficult than you anticipated?
I tell you, the southpaw style, and he's deceiving the way he boxes and moves. He's disciplined, and he just want to get 1 or 2 shots and dance and move.
What is your fighter, David Reid, learning from this, and how
that he have to go to the body? The key was going to the body from the first round, and he's looking for the right hand. The body is the key.
Is he coming on as this fight is going on? Is he learning more about how to deal with this? Do you
see? No better. And these the kind of fights he got to learn. Hey, this would make him a champ. If he want to be champ, he have to go through this class.
I said earlier on the air that one of the things he's learning from fighting this tall, sort of awkward left-hander is maybe you shouldn't fight tall, awkward left-handers.
Hey, it comes with the territory. If you want to be a champ, this is the kind of fights you have to do. We have to take them one at a time.
Thank you, Al.
Anytime.
Al Mitchell repeating everything you said in your on-camera before the fight. Was he watching your on-camera, boy?
No, that's the guy that knows his game.
Mitchell, who had left professional boxing to spend all of his time as an amateur trainer and coach until he hooked up with David Reid. He says, you know, I was finished with this game because of all the problems that are a part of it, but Reid brought me back to professional boxing. I want to be with him all the way down the road when he's a many-time world champion.
And I believe that is true.
Oh, they have the love. These two have a very close relationship. Hard right hand by Reid. More and more, he's doing exactly what Al Mitchell says he needs to do, using the body to set up headshots.
Yeah, because Coker doesn't like being hit to the body at all. And once you hit him to the body a few times, you make him drop his hands, and then you can hit him with the big headshots. But if you go looking strictly for the headshots, it's not going to happen that easy.
So you've seen Reid respond to the early difficulty of the cut above his eye created by an accidental headbutt. We've seen him more and more figure out the footwork puzzle of how to get at James Coker. You've seen him solving the equation of which punches to use to get through Coker's guard. If he can reel him in the late rounds and produce a knockout, it'll go down as a hell of a performance.
Right now, the cowboy looks like he's riding a Bronco.
As opposed to a giant stallion?
Yeah, this is no trot in the park. This has become very difficult for Coker.
Coming up December 8, HBO Sports presents the next edition of Sports of the 20th Century. Sugar Ray Robinson, The Bright Lights and Dark Shadows of a Champion. The documentary which traces the triumphs and tragedies of the boxer most experts call the greatest pound for pound of all time. Outside of the ring, Robinson was a fearless and flashy showman, but his final days were marked by sickness and poverty, as you'll see in Sugar Ray Robinson, The Bright Lights and Dark Shadows of a Champion, coming December 8th, only on HBO.
You got a punching combination. She's still not putting the hook with the right hand, and the hook is the key.
Yeah.
Okay, he's so awkward. All right? And the body is the key. All right?
All right.
Okay.
Deep breath, baby. Deep breath. Come on. Now put
All right, seconds out.
Jim, in my days as a columnist and editor for the Philadelphia Daily News near here, there was a catcher for the Phillies named Jim Coker, of all things. Also from Texas, from Houston.
Part of the 1964 team.
No, he was gone by that time, Jim.
He was.
Yeah, he was a tough little catcher and a very good guy.
Very good.
And right now, James Coker is becoming the catcher in this fight.
Harold, how do you have it through 8?
Jim, I agree with Larry. I got it 78-74, 6 rounds to 2, David Reid. I thought he picked up the pace tremendously in the last 5 rounds. He stays on top of James Coker, and he hits him with tremendous right hands. The thing about Coker is he's got a great jaw. David really hits him good shots and nothing happens.
Well, Reid's 2 best right hands of the fight have landed in this round. And Reid seems for the moment to be on the verge of solving the puzzle of how to make his right hand the dominant factor in the fight.
He's figuring it out now, and now he knows just keep him backing up. That's the way you beat a southpaw. Make him constantly back up, and you have no problems hitting him. But if you let him come forward, you're not going to beat him that easy.
Why is a southpaw more difficult to fight than a conventional fighter going back? I've never quite understood that reasoning. Explain it.
Why is he difficult to fight?
No, why does he have more trouble?
Let Harold explain. He wants to answer. Go ahead, Harold.
Larry, a southpaw is difficult to fight because they give you half the body to swing at. Just like you said in the first round, they're always slanted halfway away from you. That's number one. The second thing is they circle the wrong way. A conventional right-handed fighter circles naturally to his left.
So you're saying that when a southpaw goes backwards, he just makes it even more difficult than when he fights you straight ahead?
Sure, because he doesn't square up in front of you. He gives you half the body to swing at all the time.
Still confuses me a little, but I think I understand it.
Larry, you don't see the left hand coming.
Which only makes it stand to reason that, of course, they don't see the right hand coming, and that's why most people start out trying to throw a straight right hand against a southpaw, because it's going to damage them the same way their left hand might damage you.
That's right. That's why whoever chases who back first usually has the advantage.
So that's why you want to make him back up.
Yeah, I want to make him back up because I run him right into my right hand.
You know, they've done a very good job with the cut over David Reid's eye. For the first time since he was cut, I see a little bit of blood. It's opening again.
But by and large, it hasn't been a factor because of good work in his corner and because of good work by Reid, who took more of an initiative in the fight when it appeared that the blood might bother. Reid landing his right hand twice more. Round 9 has been the best round yet for David Reid.
It's tiring out. You got to work. You understand what I'm saying? You got to put them together. Give me the towel.
Cool. This is it. This whole first round.
10th round.
Okay? Take a deep breath. How you feel?
We need these 3 rounds.
Okay? You have to work. You got him there. The right uppercut is the key when you go into him. He landed. You keep looking for the right hand to the head, and he's ducking his head. The right uppercut is the key. Okay? And put the left.
When you got a gun, shoot it, and that is David Reid's gun. The end of the night with all the strategizing.
Right there.
That's what's winning the fight for him.
Bigger guns.
Step back.
Reid landed 40% of his punches in the 9th round, up from 30% in the preceding 8 rounds. You saw the 2 straight right hands that landed flush on Coker's face in the early part of round number 9. Al Mitchell has now cited 3 keys for Reid. 1 minute he tells him the left hook is the key. Then he tells him going to the body is the key. And now the right uppercut is the key. I think that straight right hand right there, that's the key.
Well, he's got a triple lock he's trying to open up, so there's 3 keys. The question now is whether Coker will try to win the fight or be satisfied to go the distance.
I'll bet on the latter. Coker probably figures he's doing about as well as he can do.
But as David put it, I'm his Super Bowl, and he's got to try something here to make some kind of impression, even if he loses. Described David Reid's right hand as a devastating punch, and it has been through the first 10 fights of his career. And although he has stunned Coker a few times with it, he doesn't seem to have put much of a dent in him with it.
Well, because he can't hit him too clean. Number one, when you fight a southpaw, his left hand is farther away from you than his right. But the closest thing to him is the right hand, which is the weak hand. And that's the front hand that he puts out in front of his face. So you got to run into that before you get to his face. And after you get past the right hand, you got to deal with the left hand. So it's much harder to land a straight right hand on him than it is to hit a conventional fighter.
But there's another right hand landing, and yeah, I think Reid's right hand shots would have produced more devastating effect if he were closer in.
Yeah,
these were all fully extended.
Right. If he had got closer, then maybe they would have done more damage.
You see the knockouts when a punch travels 8 inches, not when it travels 2 feet 8 inches. But certainly, the right hand in the last 2 rounds has separated the 2 fighters and established Reid as the physically dominant boxer in the ring.
It also would have helped him to have went to the body early in this fight. The body shots were hurting Coker.
But he didn't really start doing it till the middle rounds.
It's very slippery. Please, towel, somebody, please.
Yeah, somebody.
Oh, put him around.
I don't know. Miss Hamed McCullough and Bungu Romero on Halloween night.
And you're not listening to what we tell you to do. We're telling you to go to the body. We're telling you to go to the body and you dump it back. Now,
give me a towel from there.
Here, go and take this. Give me another towel. I gave you one.
Put it over the cut.
You listen to me. You're pulling out. The key is, remember I told you you're going to get hit if you pull out? The key is backing him up. Don't pull out and work to the body. Okay? You're making it a long night. Nobody else. He's not making it a long night. You're making it a long night.
All right, seconds out.
Okay?
Mama, don't let your boys grow up to be boxers. As Willie Nelson might sing.
And don't let your daughters grow up to be gymnasts or figure skaters. Round 10 and round 9 looked very much alike. There's the uppercut that Al Mitchell wants David Reid to throw more frequently. You got to time it just right because he's got to throw it when Coker's coming in, and that happens only sporadically. A knockdown of David Reid.
5, 6.
Scored as a knockdown.
8.
Well, I missed it. Did you?
I think he was a little bit off balance.
He was off balance. He caught a left-hand punch from Coker, and he went to one glove to maintain his balance. And when that glove touched the canvas, the count began. So another learning experience for the young 154-pound star. And now Reid responds with anger. Producer David Harmon telling me from the truck that replays will demonstrate it was a slip, not a knockdown, but it's had the effect of bringing out the tiger in David Reid.
Yeah, he seems to be a little bit more serious than he was at first.
You're wondering if James Coker at this moment is thinking, no, it was a slip.
I didn't mean it.
Good straight right hand by Coker.
All I'm thinking right now is it time to move the clock back yet?
Yeah, that's right. We all get an extra hour in Atlantic City. Hard right hand by Reid. Coker's most aggressive assault in a while. Couple of pawing right jabs.
Very good.
And Reid punctuates the round with another hard right hand.
Take a deep breath. Listen to me, kid. You have to back him up and go to the body. He blocking. You throwing the right hand. He's blocking every last one.
Was this a knockdown? Didn't look like one to me, unless you can knock a guy down by hitting him in the upper arm. However, David Reid does tend to get a little off balance. His legs
then you throw your
do
right
tend
hand.
to fly all over the place sometimes.
You're backing him up, and then you stop him. You got to finish. You got to get him out there, Dave. This is too close to call. You got to get him out there, and he's there for you.
I said box, run. You hear me? Run. Keep that jab. Keep that jab.
Now, in Coker's corner, they're telling him to box.
Last round. You want to shake hands now?
In Reid's corner, they're telling him he needs a knockout. What fight are we watching here?
I don't know.
Okay, shake hands.
Coker's thrown only 39 punches around in the last 2 rounds. His activity level dropping, suggesting to me at least that he's fighting to finish the fight.
It sounds like Coker's management, meaning Tony Ayala Sr., is content to go away with a decision loss.
Harold, how do you have it through 11?
Jim, I don't think that David Reid needs anything to win this fight. 8 rounds to 3, 106, 102, David Reid. I got him with a solid 4-point lead. Jim, I got to tell you something. These painted canvases are really tough sometimes. When they get wet from sweat, from the water coming off a guy's trunks and gloves, they're brutal. They get very, very slippery, and the footing is bad, as Roy Jones will tell you. He had that problem at Madison Square Garden. It's a painted canvas with advertising painted on the ring, and that's what's causing the slips.
Harold knows more than I thought he knows.
Harold knows everything, Roy.
He might be a genius.
Second knockdown of Reid, and now, if the scorecards are closer than Harold's, you get into a very dangerous area for the young prospect. And that was a straight left hand, and that one, Larry, was a knockdown.
Yep. I thought that was a jab.
I think it was the left hand behind the jab, but I think both punches landed. And I think Reid, at this point, had better knock Coker out to be certain. And that was one of the biggest right hands he's landed in the fight. He's got a minute and a half to pull it off. Going to the scorecards at this point would be highly suspenseful, with Coker having been credited with knockdowns in each of the last 2 rounds. And Reid doesn't want to hear the scorecards either. Neither do the crowd.
Oh, that body shot hurt Coker real bad just then, though, Jim.
Minute to go. Coker seemingly a little wobbly. Reid better unload the kitchen sink. to yell at Coker to move side to side. Now Coker, for reasons unknown, elects to come forward and throw punches, and Reid doesn't respond.
He's a little winded for those combinations that he threw, Jim.
Reid trying to buy some time to get his wind back.
Okay. Good fight,
We're 10 seconds away from going to the scorecards. This could be interesting.
Well, this is a little bit more excitement and drama than I'm sure a lot of people wanted to see for David Reid. A cut over his eye from an unintentional butt. 2 official knockdowns, one of them clearly a push. Could make the scoring interesting.
Good. There you go, Cowboy!
Harold Letterman. Hey, Harold Letterman. Talk to me a second. In the last round here, Harold, you have a situation where Coker gets credit for a knockdown, and then David Reid dominated the rest of the round. 10-9 Coker, 10-8 Coker. How do you score it?
Either way, Jim, no matter how you saw it, I thought that James Coker came back in the last couple of seconds to do enough to hang on to his 10-8. I gave him the 10-8. I still left David Reid ahead by 2 points, 114, 112, 8 rounds to 4. David Reid.
Yeah, but you had Reid winning 7 consecutive rounds from the 4th through the 10th.
That's when I thought David Reid absolutely dominated with the right hand.
Atlantic City judges rarely give a fighter 7 rounds in a row in a fight of this type.
Jim, I thought you had to. James Coker was just tapping him with the right hand, but on the other hand, David Reid landing solid with his right hand.
There's the knockdown, and I told you it was the left hand. See? Every once in a while I see something here, Roy. There's the straight left hand that knocked Reid down.
He still seemed to be off balance, though.
Well,
see, his foot
that contributes to knockdown sometimes, but you've got to call that a knockdown. And David Reid knows that he made a mistake. So that introduces an element of suspense that surely Reid and Mitchell and the folks at America Presents who promote him did not want to be a part of this fight.
Beautiful, baby. Y'all do that. You stop the floor. You won't be on camera.
And now you can just hear the Coker people after the fight. If Reid gets the decision, they'll say, well, we were robbed. We knocked him down twice. What more do you have to do? And Michael Buffer has the particulars in his hand. So let's go up.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Trump Taj Mahal, we go to the Budweiser scorecards. Ron Greenlee scores the bout 118 to 110. John Potteray has it 119 to 111, and Paul Venti scores it 117 to 111 for the winner by unanimous decision and new champion from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the American Dream, David.
The following is a special presentation.
None of the 3 scorecards as close as Harold Letterman's. So that confounds my expectations. And goes to show you that the judges saw Reid's dominance throughout the fight. Final punch stat numbers, and you'll see that Reid landed 83 more punches, threw 184 more punches, and landed at a higher percentage. His were also, by and large, the harder blows. Let's go up to Larry Merchant in the ring with 11 wins, no losses, unbeaten Olympic gold medalist, David Reid.
David, your trainer Al Mitchell sent you out in the last round with instructions to go after him and try to stop him because it was a close fight. Did you think it was a close fight?
Most definitely I thought it was a tough fight, but I just didn't want to leave the judges in their hands.
You know, consequently, you got knocked down.
It looked like a knockdown, but I didn't get knocked down. You know, I slipped a little bit in his glove, touched me, and I fell, and that's what made it look like that I...
Well, when his glove touches you and you fall, that's usually a knockdown. So you wind up with a cut over your eye, 2 official knockdowns, even though one looked like at least one of them looked like a slip or a push. Give us your thoughts on a night like this. It was a little bit more dramatic and exciting than a lot of people wanted to see.
It was a more technical fight. the guy came there to fight. I made a whole lot of mistakes, and that's what made it a long night. You know, my coach Al Mitchell told me to work to the body and throw my right uppercut, but I didn't do that. But it seemed like he wasn't there. So, you know, I just was worried about, you know, scoring.
Al, one of the things I thought you might have learned from this fight is to keep him away from tall left-handers for as long as you can.
Larry, I told you this fight to go 8, 9 to 10 for 12th round. He's a very good boxer, and he's deceiving. He don't box to like to win. He boxed on your mistakes, and he's tall, and he's awkward, and that's why you ain't gonna see too many people boxing. They all go ducking. I want Dave to learn this game, and the only way to learn it is take one step at a time.
You made the comment before the fight that the talent is there to be a champion, but the mental outlook, the mental toughness has to catch up to the talent. Did it catch up tonight? Is this the kind of experience that helps you catch up?
It only can help him. He went 12 rounds. Hey, and that, I feel good about that. But he made a lot of mental mistakes, and he wanted to get in his own mode and do what he really wants. What he got to understand, this is a team. We all have to work together, and you have to live.
But at the end of the day, you convinced all the judges that you were right. That your right hand is what got you out of the trouble, and your right hand is what did it for you.
Well, he's a southpaw, so what you're supposed to use, the right hand, left hook, and I used my jab a little bit. You know, I just did enough to score, to win a bout.
Where does this put him, Al, as far as his path toward a shot at a title?
Well, we got 2 or 3 more fights. We got to work on a couple of things. Nobody liked to box southpaw. Why? Because they make you look lousy. I thought it was a good fight, but it was a technical fight, and the southpaw style do make you look awkward.
Did you want him to look lousy?
No, I didn't. I thought he did a good job. He got the job done, and anybody will tell you, boxing a southpaw, especially a tall southpaw, will make you look like he's slow.
Thanks a lot, Al.
Anytime, man.
Thank you, David. We'll be seeing you again. So, we've been following the progress of David Reid since he turned professional. This is another turn as he turns professional and turns toward becoming a championship contender. Whether he's a champion still has to be determined by some tougher fighters, if not as tough to fight as the fighter he was in with tonight. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Larry, and some fascinating scoring in the last 2 rounds. You heard the scores, all of them relatively one-sided in David Reid's favor. James Coker, you'll recall, was credited with official knockdowns in both the 11th and 12th rounds. One judge gave the 12th round to Reid, 10-9, ignoring the knockdown. Another judge scored the 12th round even, 10-10, and that knockdown was the one we saw as a legitimate knockdown. And a third judge, Paul Venti, gave the 12th round to Coker, but only by a 10-9, not a 10-8 margin. In fact, his 2 knockdowns in the last 2 rounds gained Coker not a single 10-8 edge on any of the 3 scorecards. Very interesting. Roy Jones, the question is David Reid off that performance ready to go to the World Championship level?
I think he's ready to go to that level. Which champion he chooses is going to also have a lot to do with it. Keith Mullins, who came up with me, who's been following me for a long time, would not be a good option, I think, yet, because he still wants to learn a few more things. Keith is a little bit more well-schooled at dealing with a fighter that fights that same style, similar style to what David Reid fights. There are other champions out there that I think he would definitely beat.
Well, Yori Boy Campus is 154-pound champion. He's already taking a fight against Vargas. Keith Mullings, as you say, that's a tough assignment. Laurent Boudiwani, who is the third 154-pound titleist, is promoted by Don King. Sometimes it's hard to get at King's fighters, so it's hard to know exactly what Reid's title options are going to be in the near future, but rest assured, we'll continue to follow it right here on HBO. Thank you, Roy, and we'll have more on boxing in just a moment. Right now, a look ahead to some upcoming programs on HBO.
Next Saturday on HBO, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar spend their summer vacation on a guilt trip with a killer on their trail.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Then, the reigning prince of the World Featherweight Division defends his crown against the #1 contender, Wayne McCullough. Next Saturday on HBO. It's the premiere of I Know What You Did Last Summer at 8, followed by World Championship Boxing at 9:45. Next Saturday on HBO.
The Night Owl Massacre. This is a heinous crime that requires swift resolution.
In the City of Angels.
6 victims. One of them, one of our own. Free. Police.
I want confessions, Edmund. Oh, I'll break them, sir.
Everyone's got a story.
You talk only to me on this way. There's something wrong with the Night Owl. Just can't prove it.
I kill nobody.
And no one goes by the book.
Meet
back big time. Haven't improved. The proof had his throat slit.
Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, James Cromwell, Academy Award winner Kim Basinger, and Danny DeVito.
I just want to solve this thing, even if it means paying the consequences.
LA Confidential premieres Saturday, November 7th on HBO.
And coming December 8, HBO's forced to present Sugar Ray Robinson, The Bright Lights and Dark Shadows of the Champion, a documentary which traces the triumphs and tragedies of the boxer most experts call the greatest pound for pound of all time.